Welcome to Business Talk, brought to you by businesstech.co.za, South Africa's largest business news platform. As always, I'm Michael Avery, and today's conversation is one for the brand books, quite literally. A brand new chapter for one of South Africa's most recognizable short-term insurance providers. After 17 years with its signature hot pink and playful tone, MyWay Insurance has pulled back the curtain on a completely reimagined brand identity, and it's one that I think signals a bit more of a deeper strategic shift as it embraces the future of tech-led, customer-first insurance. But that's just my opinion. Joining us to unpack the real thinking behind the rebrand and the role of innovation and how that's reshaping the way the firm thinks about insurance is a seasoned insurance leader and digital transformation champion, Burton Naicker, CEO of Miway Insurance. Burton, great to have you on the platform. Welcome.
Yes, good day. Good day, Michael, and thank you very much for having me on.
Let's just start with your own journey. Before we get into the details of the rebrand, you've held key executive roles across the insurance sector for over 2 decades now. What inspired you to take on the challenge at MyWay, and how would you describe the unique DNA of the brand in South Africa's very competitive, very crowded insurance space?
Yes, I think, I started off in the insurance industry really from, grassroots, bottom end, in the legal department, funny enough, and progressed, through the years into claims and sales and so forth. And I found it to be a very interesting, space to work in. I would like to think that the insurance industries or the companies that I worked for were not the typical corporate businesses. They were quite ahead of the curve, very nimble and agile in their thinking. And I think that's what kept me in the industry. And then I had the opportunity, and it was really a growth opportunity to join the MyWay team. Really enjoyed, what I was doing at the time, but decided, to climb on board and take over from Renee Otto, who was the founder of MyWay Insurance. And I think what drew me to the MyWay business, number one, it's strong backing with Santam being the shareholder. Number two, the people culture in the business was very similar to what I had experienced in the past and what enabled me to thrive. And then just the colorfulness of the brand and the, thinking that, insurance is not just a boring grudge purchase type of an arrangement. It can be fun. We can elevate the service levels, and we can, ensure that the customer gets a good deal without cutting, benefits and frills and so forth. And that's why I joined the team.
Yeah, the old adage goes that nobody rolls out of bed and inherently wants to go out and buy insurance the same way they want to go and buy a new pair of sneakers or a new car. But I think MyWay has certainly lived into that brand promise of making it a bit more irreverent and fun and interesting. But, 17 years, let's face it, it's a long time in any brand's life. What was the motivation behind MyWay's recent rebrand? What moment or insight made you realize that it's time for a bit of a refresh?
Yeah, it's like, if we had to use an analogy of a car, it's very similar. A customer gets used to the shape, you get used to the features, and so you want something, slightly different. And we didn't want to change the shape, totally. We wanted to give it this facelift. The brand gets tired. We do a lot of marketing relative to the non-direct, insurance companies. So we needed to keep the brand alive and, more important, give it a refresh. So that was the thinking, how do we refresh the corporate identity? How do we make the brand slightly more energetic and playful? And then lastly, how do we make the brand relatable so that customers can engage? And you'll notice that, we had uppercase M and uppercase W. So we dropped it. We kept it simple. We kept it clean. And, we introduced the A in the form of conversational bubble to kind of communicate to our customers and, number one, tell them we're open for business, but we're also humans. We're here to engage.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that, the new visual identity and how it reflects the company's evolving ethos. It's interesting that I think the younger generations don't tend to use caps in the way they communicate. Even Sam Altman of OpenAI, when he's on X, everything's in lowercase. So what would you say this new visual identity reflects about your evolving ethos? And what do you want people to feel when they see the new MyWay brand?
I think, number one, we understand the customer, we understand their needs. And then also that, we yet to engage, and we are a business that's backed by real humans. And I mean, humans, converse, they dialogue, they engage. And that was it, right? Because, when you buy an insurance policy, you don't really get a parcel delivered to you at the close of business, right? You get a debit order that goes off your bank account. You never know if you're going to use it, right? And I speak to my staff once a month that join us. So the newbies is what we call them. And I talk to them about, insurance being this purchase that you get really nothing, on the day that you purchase it. So, evolving the brand was to tell customers, listen, number one, we are backed by humans. So you can trust us in placing your business. You've bought the policy at the right place, and we are here for when you need us the most. And that's when you have a claim, you need to make a change to the policy, or you get stuck at the side of the road, or, different benefits that we have, obviously, that's associated with the policy. But we're more than just that typical insurance company. We are your partner. Yeah.
And as much as it's really refreshing to hear the human element, because I think often in today's world, we go to the tech first, and, I'm someone who wants to speak to someone at the end of the day. If I've got a claim, I want to know that everything's sorted. It's just who I am as Michael Avery. But you have described this as part of a much larger transformation for the group. So let's zoom in on some of the technology in the back end. Where are you actively integrating more smart, more modern tech to enhance that overall customer experience and even improve internal efficiency?
Yes. So it's a good question. So number one, I think, we've said as a brand, we want to give customer choice. So a customer that wants to call us, we're happy to deal telephonically, via email, WhatsApp, digital through our app, through our website. I mean, there's many channels in which a customer can communicate with us. I mean, 24/7, right? You could submit a claim at 12 o'clock at night, from your bedroom. You could communicate with us in terms of your policy. You could download your policy documents. You could make changes to your policy. So we have all of those facilities that really enable us in a hybrid, call it omni-channel environment. Some of the tech that we have, one that MyWay was probably first to market is the emergency crash alert. That was a nifty feature that's really built into our app for free. Once a customer buys a policy, you automatically enable, the feature, and we would be able to pick up if you are in a severe crash, including a kind of medium-weighted crash. And customers really love it, right? Now, there are false positives where we would call a customer to check if you're okay. So what happens is the tech picks up a crash. It goes into our 24/7 call center that's in the business. We would phone the customer. If the customer does not answer the phone, we would then dispatch an ambulance to the last location, right? Very nifty. And sometimes, it's just a fender bender, but a customer appreciates the fact that we picked it up because, you might be unconscious in an accident. And yeah, so that's great. And then we've got, from an internal perspective, right, just to improve the level of service and the efficiency at which we run the business, a lot of processes that are automated via, robotic process automation. And it really runs through the night and runs through the day, making sure that the customer gets a seamless benefit, whether it's, in submitting a claim where processes talk to one another, vehicle needs to be assessed, photos need to be, collated, and an invoice needs to be paid for a service provider. All of those stuff happens really by robotic process automation. And then, we just got various other processes like artificial intelligent model that quality checks the advice we're giving customers because, we sell a lot of policies and most of it is done directly via the call center. But we also want to ensure that the customer gets good advice from our agents. Humans could differ, on the day they could, forget a thing or two. So we've got models that run through and quality score calls, and then we fix it if we got it wrong, for example, or we help coach individuals to, generate better service offerings. That's just some of the stuff that we have from a tech perspective, yes.
That's very cool. And I must say, a lot of that, it really makes intuitive sense. Those processes that you can automate in the back end, but then also using that technology to add real value. I was chatting to the founder of Aura the other day. They've just raised a big slug of Series B capital, taking their panic button app global. And he spoke about the importance of partnerships in this space. What is your view on how you innovate to bring these kinds of solutions to customers? Are you building a lot of the tech in-house? Are you partnering? Or do you have a rule about how you approach this? Or is it just kind of opportunity driven?
Most of it is built internally, in-house. We have quite a large IT team, and it's what the founder actually orchestrated from the start. And I think it's brilliant because it enables us to deploy, much quicker. We have every 2 weeks kind of deployment, sometimes, per week, depending on, the amount of new innovative ideas that we, bring to the business, and then just general, maintenance. But we do have partners as well on a smaller scale. For example, we're refreshing our website and we're just creating, a better experience for the customer and making it more automated, more nimble, more digital. So then we've got a partner doing that, for example. So yeah, listen, we're quite flexible. We try to take the route of least resistance, number one. And number two, I think we just try to ensure that, listen, we want to keep, flowing with ideas so that the business doesn't become stale. So a bit external, but mostly internal.
Yeah, and I think that gives you great power to develop a pipeline internally, have a sandbox, deploy, see what works and what doesn't, and have that kind of iterative feedback to understand, what's working for consumers. I think there's a lot of choice out there for consumers, and you'll know this very well, Burton. It's a very competitive landscape. The non-life insurance sector, the short-term sector, call it what you will. If you had 60 seconds, we just walked into an elevator and you want to pitch MyWay to me, I introduce myself. Hi, I'm Burton Naicker, the CEO of MyWay. Why should I choose MyWay over another non-life insurer?
I think firstly, because we allow you to live your way, truly. But I think more than that, Michael, so, we'd like to think that we are value for money offering, right? Without cutting off the benefits, without cutting the frills, right? So still giving the customer the convenience, products or benefits rather, with insurance. And why I say value for money is because we optimize the internal business operations so that, from a cost perspective, we lower the cost of running the business so we could pass these savings on to a customer, because that's what customers are looking for. Some customers have an incident, many customers don't. And so customers want value for money because if they don't have an incident, at least they paid the best price, but got good service and a quality product. So I think that's what MyWay is about. And I mean, internally, from a culture perspective, this is the passion point, that kind of keeps me engaged in the business. Our entire workforce is a bit of a movement that is focused on service. So we have a philosophy called lead by service, led by service. And it's not something that is meant to be accidental. It's intentional with design, and we put effort towards getting every, of our employees up to that level. And for me, that's what matters. So, that's what you get at MyWay. And then all of the, product benefits. You have a drink, we'll take you home for free. We've got that service. Like I mentioned, we've got the emergency alert service, and then just a whole host of features that a customer can use whilst not having a claim. Pipe bursts in your house, we'll be there to fix it, for example, and so forth. Yeah.
I love that you placed service right at the center of what the company culture stands for, because I think for so many, insurance businesses trying to compete out there, that ultimately, when you're claiming, it's generally because something big has happened in your life, be it an accident, a pipe burst, as you say. And ultimately, really what you want in that moment is service. And I think there are far too many insurers that I've had to deal with, sadly, who don't understand that. So thank you very much, Burton Naicker. A refreshing and insightful look at how a very proudly South African insurance brand is staying relevant, is staying agile and customer-focused, with service right at the very center. Big thank you again, Burton Naicker, CEO of MyWay Insurance, for joining us today on Business Talk. Take care.
Thank you very much, Michael.